Well, I think we are ready to get started. My name is Andrew. I'm going to be the lead trainer here today. I appreciate you joining us. What we're going to be doing is an overview of the IG Express system for grants management. IG Express is a little different from the usual IGX system in that you will get a system that is already pre-configured. This will then be configured by client needs, basically as the system is set up. What you're going to see today is an overview of navigating through the system, basically showing you how it's going to be used for grants management and some things you may encounter along the way as you are using that system. We are going to go straight through that presentation, which is set to be about 40 minutes or so. If you do have any questions, please feel free to drop those in that meeting chat or in our Q&A. We're also going to pause for questions at the very end of today's presentation. This is going to be recorded so that you will receive a recording of today's presentation. You're also going to receive a document that sums up all the questions and answers that happen at today's presentation as well. So you will have those resources to look back on after today. But again, please let us know if anything else comes up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to share my screen, and then I will start today's presentation on IG Express. Welcome to a video demonstration of the IG Express system. In this video, we'll go over basics on system navigation, review managing and navigating through a document, and then go over helpful tools and features that you can use to better manage your grants. IG Express is an internet application that can be accessed from most devices with internet connections, including tablets, smartphones, laptops, or personal computers. It is designed to be compatible with the four most widely used browsers: Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. IG Express will also generate certain reports and documents for your organization to download and save. Many of these documents will be available in a PDF format, while other data may export in a spreadsheet format. We would recommend using Adobe Acrobat, Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets, or a similar third-party software in order to view those documents. To begin with, we'll start on the login page. Here, you can observe the welcome panel on the left with information for users who are first coming to the system, a login panel on the right where you can enter your username and password, and then an announcements panel below the welcome panel. Below the login button in the login window are options for forgot username password and for a new user to register. If you are trying to log in and have forgot your username or your password, click on the button below the login button. You'll then be taken to a new page where you can enter in your email address and username associated with your account in the system. You would then hit the email button to receive a message with information on how to set a new password. If you have forgotten your username, you can click Forgot Username to be taken to another page where you would enter in the email address for your account in the system. Hitting email would send you a message with that username. You would then be able to use that to finish the forgot password process. At any time, you can hit Login to return back to the login screen. While you may use a different registration system, the registration for IG Express will begin by clicking the New User Register Here button. In the window that pops up, you would fill in the information for the user or the organization that you would like to register with the system. After you enter in all of that information and then hit Save, that request for registration would then be sent for approval. We can now continue into the system by hitting the login button after entering in our username and password. After logging in, you will first be taken to the dashboard. Depending on which role you are logged in as, you will see different options in this top menu navigation bar. Currently, I am logged in as the authorized official, which would be considered an external user role. To begin reviewing the top menu navigation bar, the first button will be in the upper left, the Home button. This will take you back to the dashboard from almost any page on the website. Next to it is the option for searches. Clicking on this will show a drop-down menu with available documents that you can search for in the system. If you have already searched for documents in your system, you can see recent documents in order to access those documents quickly. On the right side of the top navigation menu is the High Contrast Mode button. Selecting this button will change the appearance of your website to be more ADA compliant and easier to navigate for those with visual impairments. You can select this button to change the website back to its original appearance. Next to that is the Contact Info button, where you may find information if you need to reach out for any reason. Next to Contact Info is Training Materials. This is where you could find documents to use as a resource for navigating or using the system. Next to Training Materials is Help, where you can find instructions or other basic information on the system as needed. Next to those buttons will be the username of the user currently in the system. Selecting that username will generate a drop-down menu. The options include seeing the user's profile, any messages that may have come through to that user, the option to edit their dashboard, go to support, or to log out of the system. To start with, let's explore the user profile. On the user profile, you'll be able to see the information for the user that you're currently logged in as, their role in the system, when they were activated and by whom, and what organization they currently belong to. Scrolling down, you'll also be able to edit the security image, the username and password for that user, as well as upload any additional information. On the left side is a navigation menu with more information about the organization to which this user belongs. Selecting organization information will bring up a page displaying information about the organization to which this user is currently assigned to. Depending on the permissions of the user, you may be able to only view but not edit this organization information. You'll also be able to select organization members in that left side menu to see a list of all of the members in this organization. Using this member search at the top, you can filter through by a name, a role, or if you want to search for active or inactive users, or see both types. You can also choose the Add button in the upper right to either add a new user to your organization or to invite an existing user to your organization. If you were to add a new user to the organization, a window would pop up where you would enter in the information for that new user, select the role you would like them to have, their active and possibly inactive date, as well as the option to add additional roles if you would want them to have more than one responsibility in the system. It's important to note that the inactive date will determine when this user will no longer be able to access the system using that role. Below that, you can enter in the username and password for this new user, and then click Save to attempt to register them with the system. If you were to try to add an existing user to the organization, a window would appear where you can search for the user by their email address, and then assign which role you would want them to have, their active date in the organization, their inactive date, and the ability to add multiple roles. Once you have searched for that user and entered in the role information you want them to have, you would then hit save to add them to your organization. Below organization members on the left side is organization categories. Here you can see which categories your organization is currently assigned to. This can be important because certain opportunities may only be available for organizations with certain categories, meaning that a nonprofit may see opportunities that a municipality or law enforcement would not see, and vice versa. Now that we've explored more about the user and organization profiles, we can hit Home to return to the dashboard. Below Profile in the drop-down menu is the option to see messages. Here is where you can see messages that have been sent to you either in the system or related to a specific document. While you can click the Open button here, and then scroll down to see more information about a message from your inbox, we'll go into more detail about document messages later on in this presentation. Let's click Home to return to the dashboard. Another option in the drop-down menu below the username is Edit Dashboard. Selecting this will allow you to add a new panel to your dashboard, reset the dashboard to its default appearance, or to save any changes that you make. There will also be buttons in the upper right corner of each panel to edit or delete that panel. In this case, what I can do is delete the Announcements panel and edit My Tasks panel's appearance in order to be wide instead of standard. This way it will take up more horizontal space. I can also choose to add a panel. In this case, I will add a standard version of the My Opportunities panel. If I wanted to make sure I could see that panel first, I can click and drag that to be above My Tasks. In this instance, though, I want My Tasks to be the first thing that I see. So after I make that change and then hit Save, this will now be the default appearance that is specific for this user whenever they log into the system. The next option available in the drop-down menu is Support. Selecting Support will take you to the Support Requests screen. Depending on your system permissions, you may be able to view existing support requests. To submit a new one, click the Add button in the upper right corner. This will then confirm which user is submitting the support request. You'll be able to choose your preferred contact method, the category of your support request, and then you'll be able to fill out your specific request information in that text area and hit Save to submit that request. Now that we've gone over the dashboard, we can navigate to one of the documents that we want to use in this system. There are a few different ways to find documents. One way would be to use the My Tasks panel and select one of these document titles to go directly into that document. We could also select the Searches option from our menu and either go to a recent document that we searched for, or select one of these search options. On this search page, we'll be able to search for our document by its name, its subcode, which is usually the fiscal year, the document type, which in this case is the template that the document would belong to, the document's current status, the organization that initiated the document, or a specific person on that document. In this case, I will search for a specific part of the document's name that I want to find. And once that's located, I'll be able to see information about that document before clicking into the document and being taken to the document landing page. On this landing page, I can see some important information about this document at a glance, including the template, instance, and process this document is tied to. I also see the document's current status in the system, the organization that initiated that document,
my role on the document, which may be different from my role in the system, the document's period date, and due date. I also see a timeline that lets me know which steps this document will be going through, and a summary of some of the project information below. In the upper left will be my document's name, and if I hover over that name, I will see the information from this landing page from almost any form on this document. Below that document name will be more menu navigation options. First will be the forms available in this document to fill out. They may be partitioned off in their own sections. Below those sections and those forms will be an area for document tools that you can use to communicate or manage the document. Status options, where you can change the status of the document if you are the right user, and the option to initiate related documents. These related documents will usually not be available until the main document has entered a specific status. Next to each of these forms, you'll notice that there are also icons that indicate those forms' current statuses. A blank box will indicate that this form is unsaved with no data entered. A box with a check mark indicates this form has been saved with data. An exclamation point in a circle or a triangle lets me know that there is an error or a warning on this form that may prevent this document from going forward. And a folder with an arrow will let me know that there are multiple forms available. Clicking the arrow will then allow me to see those forms, which I can then select individually. For this document to continue, I will need to resolve that error check. I can also see information about the current status of my forms by selecting Document Validation from the tools. This will bring up a pop-up that will show me which forms are currently experiencing any issues, what the status is of that issue, and if that issue will prevent a change to this document status. If I wanted, I could then click directly into that document and begin to resolve that error. Once you have been taken to that form experiencing the error check, you will see a message in the upper right corner letting you know the details of that error. Selecting the message will usually take you down to the part of the form experiencing that error. And you can then make a selection in order to resolve that error. Selecting yes will also bring up an example of a data dependency on this form. A dependency is logic that will keep a part of a form hidden until it is needed. In this case, I do not need to indicate the population unless I have selected yes from the drop-down menu. Once I have specified that population, I can then hit save in the upper right corner. That message will disappear in the upper right for the error check, and I can now see that the form icon next to my form name is a box with a check mark in it, letting me know that form has been saved with data and with no errors. With that done, we'll now return back to the landing page. Once all the forms on this document have been completed and there are no errors that will prevent it from moving forward, you would then be able to go in the left side navigation to status options. In this case, we can choose to submit this finished application. We can enter in any notes we would like to specify about this status change, and then hit OK. The document landing page will refresh. We'll receive a confirmation message letting us know that status has been changed and that application has been submitted. And we can see confirmation of that document status change on the landing page here. It could be that after submitting this application, some changes may be required for that application to continue through its process. In this instance, we'll need to go to an application that has had modifications requested in order to see what that modifications process may appear like. Let's now navigate to a document that has modifications that have been requested. This form is in the grant awarded pending changes status and has had modifications requested. As the authorized official, I can see these modification requests here, and once I have fulfilled these requests on this application, I can then check the boxes next to those modification requests to indicate to the administrator that those changes have been made. They would then be able to review this application again, determine if more changes are needed, and then move this application forward in the process. We can begin to explore the document tools by going to our left side menu and scrolling down. The first tool that we'll look at is Add Edit People. Add Edit People will allow us to see the information about all the users that are currently attached to this document. If there is a hyperlink for the user's name, we would then be able to click on that user to see their user profile. I can also click the pencil icon next to any of these users to edit their role on the document if I have the correct permissions. If I did not have the correct permissions, that username would not appear as a hyperlink, and I would not be able to make any changes when I click on the Edit User button. In this case, though, I can change the role of this user on the document, their active date, and their inactive date. I can also add a new user to the document by selecting the Add button. I would first need to search for that user in the system by either their name, their role, or which organization they're attached to. After searching for them, I would then be able to select what role I would like to add them onto for this document, when I would like their active date to be, and if I would like to set an inactive date for them in the future. After hitting save, that user would then be added to the list of users on the document for Add Edit People. The next tool is Status History. Status History will tell me all of the status changes that this document has gone through, the date and time it went through those changes, and the person who made those changes. If there was a note left regarding that status change, I'd be able to see that note as well, and I would be able to export this table's information into a spreadsheet format. Next is Attachment Repository. This is where I can see all the attachments that have been uploaded to this document, including the form in which that attachment was uploaded, the field name, a description if it was left, and a link that would take me directly to that document. If I wanted to, I could select all or some of these documents and export them into a zip file. Below Attachment Repository is Modification Summary. With Modification Summary, I can compare two different versions of this document, see what changes were made between those versions, the difference, if numerical, between those changes, and who last modified the document to make those changes. I can choose different versions using these drop-down menus, and I can export these results to a spreadsheet format using the Excel button. On this left side, we've already examined document validation, but below that is Notes. You'll notice that in the upper right corner of almost every form on this document, there is an option to leave a new note. With this note, I can leave my content, format the text, leave an attachment on this note, set it to be internal, and then the option to save the note once it has been completed. Hitting Save Note, we'll add that note to our Notes page, and going to Notes, I will be able to see all notes that have been left on this document, who left the note, and when. If I wanted, I could also leave a new note on this Notes page. There's also the ability to search through these notes using keywords to find specific information. Another way to communicate about the document would be through document messages. That would be on this left side under Print Document. On Document Messages, I can see any document messages that have already been sent to me below in my inbox here, including the sender, the recipient, the subject, the specific document, that document message's status, and when it was sent. If I select the open icon and continue scrolling down, I can see the contents of that message. If I scroll back up, I can use Message Search to search for a message by either the recipient's name or subject, the timeline of when that message was sent, the message's status, if this message is going to be only to me or to everyone on the document, if this is going to be an archived message, or if I want to see messages only associated with this document or with all associated documents, such as related or subdocuments. The last tool we'll go over is Print Document. When you select Print Document, a window will open that will allow you to choose specific versions of the document that you can print. If you would like to include these forms with or without attachments, if you would like to exclude certain forms, or only include blank copies of certain forms. When you've made your selection, you can then hit Print to download a PDF version of this document directly to your device. You would then be able to review that document to make sure everything appears correctly. With those document tools reviewed, let's return to the dashboard. The last document feature we'll show is what it's like to initiate a related document when the document is in the right status. To do that, we'll navigate to a document in the right status and switch to a user that can initiate that related document. On this document as an authorized official, with it in the agreement executed status, I can scroll down on the left side and go to Initiate Related Document. This will pull up a window where I can choose the parent document that I'd like to use and which of the available documents that I'd like to initiate. After I would hit Create, that would then initiate the document and take me to that document's landing page where I could then begin to fill it out. This concludes the demonstration from the external user's perspective. Thank you for watching, and please reach out if you have any questions.
All right, so I really appreciate you sitting through that presentation. I just want to make sure that if there are any questions or answers that we get to it. I also know that Teresa wanted to say something after that initial presentation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to get her some mic and camera access so that she can make those comments before we get to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Andrew. I think I have mic access.
I just gave you camera access as well.
Okay, all right. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone for sitting in on this. As you all are aware now, we're going to be launching our new, it's called Partnership Exchange Portal, the grants management system that we will be using. So this training was intended very, very high level. The link to this portal will be live tomorrow. So when you look on our website, go to the fee for service application. Everybody is filling out the same application and it'll say apply here. So make sure you are going to that link. Agencies will no longer go to the login at the top of our website. That old portal is only going to be used for billing throughout the remainder of the year. So again, go to our website, find the fee for service application, and apply here, that will take you to the portal. You'll have some time in the next few days to kind of start to get familiar with everything. I think it's important that you all don't get too far ahead. Fill out the organizational information for now, because that overall organizational information will populate other parts of the application. On September the 16th at 10 o'clock, we're going to have our standard pre-proposal meeting. And at that time, we will go through specifics of the application as it applies to us, go over the questions, what we're looking for, how the expenditure plan, we're now calling it the service plan, has been a little bit reformatted for use in this portal system, and things like that. When you are filling out the organizational information, if one person serves multiple roles, then go ahead and populate that with the same person. That's fine. It's important that we have a name in each role, because we will be sending out messages. Sometimes we need to get a message to the finance person, the grants administrator, and the executive director. So we're going to be using this portal to send messages out to everyone. So it's important that somebody's name is in each of those areas, and it can be the same person. If you have any questions right now, these are pretty much overall questions for the system as a whole at a high level. Individual questions will be answered on September 16th. So I'll try to help facilitate that. Okay, Andrew, that's all I have for at the moment.
Perfect. Thank you, Teresa. Yeah, just want to then give us some time then for any questions that anybody has about what we have gone over today. If there are anything that we maybe want to re-review, we can do that as well. Just want to make sure that we're going to give a moment here to make sure that all the questions that you may have now can be answered. But I know it was a lot of information, so I do want to reiterate that for anyone who may have arrived after we started, we are going to be sending out a recording of this presentation for you to review later on. There will also be a document that we're assembling that will have any questions and answers given at this presentation too. So if you did arrive after we started, you'll be able to go back and see what you missed, and you'll be able to re-watch and review all of those documents as needed to get the knowledge you need. So today was just the introduction to the system, but you will definitely be able to go back and use those resources as needed. Okay, well, if no one has any questions, that's totally fine. I know it was a lot of information to process today, but please feel free to reach out once you do have those questions. Oh yeah?
There is a question in the Q&A, which is,
sure.
what is the difference between the status history and the modification summary?
Okay, yeah, I saw that. I can definitely address that. So with that, the status history and the modification summary, the difference between them is that the status history will basically tell you every step that a document of any kind has gone through. So anytime it goes from, let's say, application in process to application submitted, that would be considered a status change. The status history will let you know each time the document has done that, as well as who did it and what time that change was made. But the modification summary will be a way for you to compare different versions of the same document that was submitted. So if you submit an application, they say you need to make some corrections, and you submit that application again, modification summary lets you put those two versions of that application side by side, see what was changed, and then see the difference, if numerical, if there was a change there. So if you had like maybe different budget numbers, you'll see exactly what that difference is as well. So that's the different things that the status history and the modification summary will show you.
So there is some questions about agency assigned roles and what kind of access each of those roles have. So we at the Mental Health Fund have the capability to assign those roles on the back end. So Tahani, I would say, the executive director, it should be self-explanatory. So put those individuals in the appropriate place, the ED, the program person, that may be a clinical person, something like that. There is a role for a grants person and then a finance person. So those are the 4 key roles. If something comes up and somebody needs more access than what their role is assigned, then we can troubleshoot that on our end. So I wouldn't be so concerned about that initially. We'll be working through that as we're approving everybody and getting used to this new system and making sure everybody has the appropriate roles.
And I saw that there was another question about a possible training when it comes time to start billing through the new portal. And also kind of a question about, I guess, the changes that will be happening between the old portal and the new portal.
Yes, on September 16th, when we have our pre-proposal meeting, that's when we'll be talking about all of those kinds of intricacies. I would say the new service unit or service plan, it's going to operate a lot like what you're used to in the old plan. It's just formatted a little bit differently, more like a budget. So you'll have the same thing as far as how many units you're providing, how many people, all of those projections and the cost, and then you'll go in and put in the what you're actually serving and using. So we're trying to design that very similar to what everybody's used to. It's just the name is a little different, and there's some nuances between partial unit costs and variable unit costs. And we'll talk about that on the 16th.
I also saw that another question came in asking, would we need to be able to have more than one individual access, edit, etc. on the grant application in the portal? We need to have that happen. Is this possible to do with this new application dashboard? Yes, it is. The way that this will work is you can have multiple people added on to the same application. Those people would then be able to go into their dashboard. They would be able to access that application from either their dashboard panels or by searching for that application in the system. They would then be able to access and edit as their role permits. So in that way, multiple people will be able to edit and access the same application. What they can do on that application will depend on what role they have in the system. And Rochelle asks, since the application opens tomorrow, will there be a link sent out to the organizations to register for this new system?
So there was an RFP that was sent out. I believe everybody got it. That's how you registered for this event. It stated that the application would be open on September 10th. But that is a great idea. We will get something out hopefully before 5 o'clock today, if not first thing in the morning. The applications are due October 10th. I promise you all, we tried to make it as simple as possible. So I think the hardest part will be just getting familiar with the new system. The questions are easily answered. Service units is the same. It's just the formatting is what is different.
And I see a question by Pharrell asking, can you have more than one administrator on the portal? I will say that IG Express allows for more than one administrator, but I am not sure if there will be restrictions on the number of administrators an organization can have. If there are, those would probably be made clear to you ahead of time, but by default, yes, you should be able to have more than one of that administrator role in your portal on the system.
Again, please bear with us as we troubleshoot that to make sure everybody has the appropriate roles signing contracts, being able to change things, obligate you all to contracts and those types of things. So we'll be working through all of this together. So have some patience and grace as we implement a new system that will hopefully is intended to be more efficient for all of us.
So I just want to make sure that we got everything addressed. Are there any other questions that anyone has? Anything else that we've spoken about that you may want to review one more time?
You're welcome.
Yes.
Again,
Thank you for that.
stay tuned for September 16th, and we'll walk through a lot of individual things as we have in the past during our pre-proposal meeting at that time.
Perfect. All right. Well, then thank you everybody for joining here today. Please expect that recording and that Q&A document coming your way sometime in the next few weeks here. But thank you for your time. Reach out if you have any questions, and we hope to speak to you again soon.